Hey everybody, welcome to the Healthy SBC Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Sutton, and I'm here with Donesa Walker today, and we're at Learning RX, and we're going to be talking about all the things that she does and learning, because honestly, this is the first time I'm talking to you, and I don't know what you do, Donesa, so I'm excited to hear about it.
We do brain training. So we do brain training for all ages. We start at age 4. We go through 104, or if you're 105, I'll still take you. Okay. So we work first by doing an assessment, just like you would for PT. We do an assessment to find out where your strengths and weaknesses of your learning processes are. So memory, attention, focus, visual, auditory. Find those skill sets, and then we take those weaker skills and we refine them up into strengths.
Oh, wow.
And we do that through intensive one-to-one training.
Cool. That's awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we jump right into what you do. Now, tell me, how did you get trained? What is your training to do this?
So I was a teacher for 20 plus years and was a dyslexia specialist, a reading specialist, and worked in my school district. And I was really passionate about having students who struggle with reading and struggle with dyslexia. I wanted to see how I could help their brain change. And so we did lots of different programs, lots of different interventions, but we were like taking one step forward, one step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It just was a slow process, mainly because we could not see them as much as we wanted to see them. As specialists, it's really hard, the demand and the load, right? And so I became really fascinated with how reading happens in the brain, not in the classroom. And that really started fascinating me, so I started reading more and more and more about it. And the more I read about it, the more interested I got in the brain and how you could change the brain into a reading brain from a non-reading brain. So Dr. Sally Shaywitz, and understanding dyslexia and conquering dyslexia. And so really fascinated. So I started doing research, found Learning RX through, long story, but through a client, a student of mine. And it turned his life around, and I was like, wow, we need to put this in our school district. And so I attempted to do that, and that did not happen.
Yeah.
And so in talking with my boss, she was like, if you want to go and do this, I'm 3 years from retirement. I'll help you with the financing, and you go do this. And so that's what happened. I came and opened Learning RX, and I have been doing it. This is my 16th year. I'm beginning my 16th year.
Wonderful.
So love it. Love changing lives. It has just been the best thing ever. I got just today, in fact, I got a card from a sweet young lady who went through here when she was young, maybe 4th, 5th grade, young. But anyways, changed her life. She is now a teacher. It's her first year of teaching. And she sent me a card today just saying how much that Learning RX changed her life and gave her the desire to teach other kids who struggle. And so that was like...
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's like the give back, right?
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
As we're getting ready to start, I'm looking around your office, and you've got diplomas everywhere and all this stuff, which I love because I love education. I start thinking about, I don't know if you've heard of Jim Quick, who retrained the brain.
Yes, Limitless.
Yes. Oh yeah, you got Limitless. Perfect. Awesome. So, I started listening to his podcast a few years ago, and every now and then I'll go back and listen because it's so short. Sure. But he talked about how he couldn't speak till he was 2 or 3, I think. And now he's just a genius.
Yeah.
And I actually gave a talk in 2017 or 18, and my slides messed up, but I had used his method and I had memorized my entire speech.
Yeah.
And I was able to keep going, and I was like, man, you really can train your brain.
You really can. And it's really amazing. You can take people who struggle with one thing and you can turn it. And that's the big thing, is that we don't, as Dr. Amy Moore, who's over the Gibson Research Institute, she always says you don't have to settle for the cognitive cards you've been dealt. You can, you can trade in those cards for better cards.
Right.
And so that's what we do, is that we actually let you trade in your cards for better cards just by working through the games.
Yeah, I love that.
And so that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love it. This reminds me of Dr. Mandy Crow. I interviewed her a few weeks ago, and she's got this new dementia test that you can go through. And it shows you what food you should be eating and all these things to try to get in front of dementia early.
Right.
And I actually took it, and I had some risk factors and some things that I'm working on. But I mean, there's so much that we can do for the brain.
Yes.
Just kind of talk a little bit about that. What does it entail to come and work with you?
So neuroplasticity is the miracle that God gave us in the brain, is that our brain can change. And so what we do is we do intensive exercise to work on the skills that are weak for you. So if you need to work on attention, we work on attention exercises. If you need to work on memory, we work on memory exercises. Maybe you need both. And so the value of getting the initial assessment gives us that baseline. And then from there, it's just the process of doing it. And the real goal is to create a lifestyle. Because whether you believe it or not, every single one of us is always training our brain. We're training our brain positively or negatively at every moment, even this moment,
Right.
And so every moment you're training your brain to make new connections, and the more connections you make, the stronger your brain gets. And the more connections you make, the longer your brain lasts, okay? And so making those connections, sorry about that, making those connections is super powerful for you just to continue that process forward so that you can grow into where you want to be. And so there's a lot of people who are like, well, I didn't have this memory fall off until I was this age or that age, or it started with this or it started with that. And you can change that. You don't have to stop there. I remember in 2018, I was in the hospital for 8 months. I was septic.
Oh, wow.
In and out of the hospital. And I have a lot of memory things that happened to me in that year. And a lot of that year for me, that whole entire year, a lot of that year was lost. My husband will tell me, this or that happened. And I was like, really? And it's like, I look back at pictures and there's things that I did that I have no recollection of during that year. Like a total lost year. Really weird to feel that. But I came back after, we got that situation corrected. I came back and did brain training with my own trainers because I had an assessment. I knew where my brain was at the beginning, and I knew that there was brain fog. And so I actually took a test to see how much that deficit was, and it was there. And so to be able to then turn that around and take a test again and say, oh, I'm back, that was so cool. That was the coolest experience, is not only seeing the change for myself, but seeing the evidence of the change was really cool for me.
Yeah. How hard was it for you to come in as the practitioner, but then as the patient, to kind of switch into that role?
Let me just tell you, one of the interesting things is here we function as a team, and I am not the expert in all things, right? I'm just not. And so I'm always learning, and I think that's the whole potential of growth mindset. Growth mindset is the brain can always be learning, and so the person can always be learning. And so I'm always learning from my staff, and my staff is always learning from me. I mean, it's a cohesive thing. So we learn from each other, and we're constantly elevating each other to grow into that next place. Not only my staff, but we actually interact with other franchises and go and visit them to see, what we have. And we do that here locally, where we go and interact with other physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, other therapists who are helping us because we begin to understand where we fit, There is no one size fits all, and there is no one solution for everybody, We know that, that in PT that there's different, PTs that have different strengths and weaknesses, and that's the whole thing. That's the advantage of being a community, is that we can learn from other practitioners and we can take in and grow from them. And it doesn't have to be a competition, but more of a, how can you motivate me to grow forward?
Yeah.
And that's what I really love. I really love that about our community, that we have, from such a dynamic group of professionals in all different areas, and that I don't think that I found anybody that feels like we're dog eat dog. I think that we all try to grow each other, and I really love that about our community.
Yeah, I think, one, we were talking about this before we started doing the podcast, like, you mentioned another PT I could interview, and you say, I don't know if you feel like that's competition, and I agree with what you're saying. Mm-hmm. There's 250,000 people here in our area.
Yeah.
Plus or minus a few more thousand.
Right.
Yeah. So there's no way to serve them all. Right. Like even if we could geo-fence the whole area and send a Facebook ad, if you had 500 leads coming in a month, there's no way you can serve all 500 of those people.
Right.
So
nor would you want to.
Nor would you want to.
Right.
Because I don't want to treat everybody, and I don't
have all the strengths.
I don't have all the strengths. I'm not, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. My wife and I had that conversation today about something. She's like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm like, I'm glad you're not, because I want you to be my cup of tea. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think that is a huge thing. And in the PT world, that seems to be a problem with people, saying, well, I don't want to talk to Jeremy because he may steal a patient or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's stupid. Why wouldn't we want to help each other? We're in healthcare to help people and serve people. So why wouldn't we do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point, is to refer back and forth and to grow back and forth. And that's the thing, is that if we as a community can help move ourselves forward by doing that, just by loving, what we do, and loving Shreveport and supporting each other moving forward, I love that idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just today, I left at somebody's house and she was telling me, hey, I have a lot of anxiety, dealing with a parent who has dementia, multiple car accidents, 2 or 3 surgeries this year. And I said, have you thought about going to counseling? And she's like, yeah, I need to find a psychologist or something. And I was like, well, I'm associated with Clint Davis. I mean, they're not paying me any money, but I am part of their integrated team.
Sure. But
they're amazing. Like, would you like? And so I found out who could take a client, and I sent her that information. Right. Because why wouldn't I do that?
That's it. Yeah.
That's
the whole point. Yeah, the whole point is so that we can just push each other forward and grow each other forward.
100%.
That's great.
So talk about a little bit. I know you said you treat people from 4 to 100. I have a patient that's 105 right now.
Oh, that's very cool.
She's doing amazing.
Yes,
I love her.
It's great.
But what does it look like for somebody to say, hey, I need some brain training? How do you even know that you need brain training?
Well, so if there's something that you're struggling with, that you feel like you're struggling in attention or memory or focus, or, you're struggling with reading, you're struggling with math. So it just depends on where your struggle is. But if you want to learn more than where you are right now, or you're doing it, I have people that come because they want their little to go to magnet school, and so they come to boost IQ because they want to get into magnet school. I have people who want to boost an ACT score because they come for ACT boost. And then I have people who have dementia. I have people who have Alzheimer's. I have people who have just a little bit of loss of efficiency. I mean, like I was talking about from being in the hospital, or, having chemotherapy, or, some of these types of things. Or professionals who are going to go right before an LSAT, right before the doctor's exams, the MCAT, the different ones that they sent for. So I think that just being able to boost your skills before those tests, teachers, praxis, nurses, NCLEX, all the tests that they have to take, all of us as professionals and people, we need an extra boost sometime, an extra lift to take us from where we are to where we want to be. So if you're in a place of like, I wish I could, if you're in the place, I wish I could, then that's the time to do it, okay? And so that's all things, just like, if you know that you're not functioning in your arm or your whatever, then you need to go see PT to get, get that built up. So same type of thing. It's like, can I build my skills just by a deficit or a deficiency that I have that I want to make it a little bit sharper, no matter where, okay?
Gotcha.
So I wish I wanted to be more. I want to be more than where I am right now. And so I can be. And I don't have to settle for where I'm at.
I love that. So I wish I had a better memory. I wish I could remember whatever.
Yeah, it's the yet principle. It's, when, like, one of the things that I always assumed in my lifestyle, I was not very good at math. So I was great at English. So I was like, I can do anything with English, but I can't do math. My husband, he's a retired game warden. You could drop him off in the woods and give him 2 minutes and he would figure out where he was and how to get out. You drop me at the woods, I would sit down at the tree and cry, okay? I'm just saying, there's a whole different perspective of life here, So when I first went to brain training myself, I had 2 master's degrees. I was not a dumb chick. Right. But at the same time, as I wished for more for my students, but I had no idea that I was holding my own self back, And so when they did the initial assessment, my visual processing was low, and they told me your visual processing controls, northeast, southwest, not turn right by Burger King, but you actually can turn east, And I was like, oh wow, And so I did brain training for myself, and the aha moment for me was after I did the first brain training experience, was I got off the elevator And instead of wondering which direction to turn towards my room, I knew immediately.
Yeah.
That was crazy. It was crazy that it could change your brain just like that, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, that was a big deal. That
Sure.
was a really big deal that it was like that. So I think that just saying, I would like to be better at, I would like to be better at math.
Right.
I would like to be better at reading. I would like to be better at whatever.
That's funny because last week, so my mother-in-law lives over on Old Brownlee Road in Bossier, by it used to be Brownlee Park, now North Bossier Park.
Yep.
And so every time I turn on Brownlee Road, I turn left, usually to go to Airline.
Right.
Well, in the last 2 weeks, I've come from the other side of that neighborhood, and I turned left, and I realized I was going towards Benton, and I was like, oh my goodness, I wanted to go Airline. And so maybe I wish I could turn left on Brownlee. Maybe I need to come see you. So I love that.
That's the directionality challenge, yes.
So, you know, my wife had a concussion years ago, and she was one of, I think, 3% of people that take 6 months to heal from a concussion. And the crazy thing was, we went to the ER twice in 2 days. First day, they said she had a migraine, which I could buy because she hit her head on the door facing.
For sure.
In all truth, we were dancing and I hit her head on the door facing, which is a whole other embarrassing story.
Yes.
But the next day they said she had swimmer's ear, and I said, listen, she doesn't have swimmer's ear. There's something wrong. And CT scan, nothing. But anyway, I ended up taking her to New Orleans. The doctor for the Saints at the time, his name is Dr. Gottschalk, said, well, long story short, she has a concussion, did all these tests, and we saw somebody here locally, but this would have been, if I would have known you were here then, I would have brought her here because that was 6 months of hell. It was miserable for her.
So in November, I had a wreck, and I had somebody hit me from behind, pushed me into an intersection. 4 cars hit me, totaled my car. And as soon as, I blacked out, hit the door facing, whenever blacked out for a brief minute, and then came back. And I understand concussions and, all that kind of stuff. But one of the really cool things was I knew immediately what to start doing. I knew what part of my brain to start working. So I know that the poor little paramedic, when they were getting me out of the car, because ripping open the doors and all that good stuff, And so I know when he was getting out of the car, I'm going, 100A, 97B, 94C, and I know he's like, what in the heck is wrong with this moment? But I was actually using my working memory to prevent having the concussion. So because I knew that the earthquake had happened to my brain, but I could do something to stabilize that right then.
Right.
And so I did not have the repercussions of that because I knew immediately what to do to stabilize my brain. Which was very cool.
Sure.
Very, very cool to do. Yeah.
I think one of the greatest things about being in healthcare for me, and especially physical therapy, because we learn to treat just about everything.
Sure.
It's like everything else. You know everything, but you're good at certain things.
Yeah.
No, I don't know everything. Let me back up. You know a lot of things, but you're good at certain things. Let me say it that way. But I don't get scared when something happens to me.
Right.
Like if I have shooting pain down my leg, I know, something's pinching on my nerve. If I just lean to the left or do something, it'll probably go away. But the average person doesn't know that.
That's the truth.
And so, the average person, they have a car wreck, they're like, oh my God, what's happening? You're over there going, 97, you're doing all this stuff because and I think that's awesome for healthcare, but we have to do a better job of getting that to other people as well. So we're looking at, 4 to 104. What does it actually look like to come in and work with you from this is the first interaction you have with us and kind of move
So the first interaction you actually you book an assessment, and then you come in and you do the assessment. It takes about an hour and a half. We do a Woodcock-Johnson 4, and will eventually be a 5, but right now it's a 4. And we do that assessment. It gives us a full look at how your brain is learning, all the learning processes from attention to memory, right? And then on,
Gotcha.
So we look at that, and then when we find where your weaknesses are, we actually target that. And then when you begin to work with your brain trainer, you work 1-to-1 with your brain trainer, doing exercises specific to that area.
Gotcha.
So if you're working on memory exercises, you're going to actually work playing memory games, okay? If you're working on attention, you're going to play attention games, that work on attention. So people are surprised that it's so simple. It really is so simple. But it's just like in PT. You would think, let's do your arm up and down like this.
Right.
You're surprised at how much that builds that muscle.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing with mental muscle.
Sure.
Mental muscle just requires for you to be doing something about it. So just like I said, I started counting, backwards by 3s and saying my alphabet. That's a multitasking task that we do that works on task switching, okay? And it uses your working memory, which is most often targeted and has issues and concussions, right? And so that was why I started targeting that right away. Well, we have a lot because of media and technology and things like that. Our working memories are terrible in general, right?
Yeah, sure.
And so that's an area that everyone should be working, and it's so simple to target and do that. So an exercise just so we can have fun for grunts and giggles, right? Okay. Sure. So tell me 5 fruits that start with P. Go.
P? Mm-hmm. What? Petunias, no. Peaches, pears, I don't know. Pickles. That's not pickle.
Fruit. Okay.
I don't know. Peaches, pears, pineapple. What's another one? You got me at 3. I can't go any further. My memory's shot.
Okay, so what was the second one you said?
Pears.
Good. Okay. That is actually working memory exercise. So the long-term retrieval was you trying to pull things out. Okay. Well, there's a simple game for that called 5-second rule. 5-second rule actually does stuff like that. It tells you in 5 seconds, name 3, whatever. Okay. And you have to do that. That's actually very good for your brain because it works on retrieval and it works on your short-term memory. Okay. And so not only your long-term memory of pulling it out, but your short-term memory of recalling or recalling back. And so that's a easy technique that you can do. Now, we don't use 5-second rule, but it is something we suggest that our parents use at home. And sometimes we let the kids play it for fun here, as a reward. But those are exercises that are the type of exercises that you would do for working memory.
Peaches, pears, pineapples, papaya, and plums.
See?
Got it.
Gave you a little bit more time than that 5 seconds.
I have no idea what you said after that because I've been thinking.
Your brain is sort of whirling.
How dare you put me on the spot on my podcast? No?
That's how it works.
I love that though.
You ask what it looks like.
As you're talking though, I'm thinking like my memory is horrible. Mm-hmm. At 42, people will tell me stuff. I'm like, let me write it down. Mm-hmm. Well, we had to reschedule this podcast because I double booked it, and so I always now I have a calendar on my phone. It's on my email. I go straight to that. If you tell me something, bam, I got it. So I know like. If you say, hey, be here at 4, I'm like, no, we said 4:30. So I'm coming at 4. But so I love that because that's something that personally I could work on. Right. 100%.
100%. Yeah. And it's doable. Yeah, it's something you can do at home. It's something that you can do on the go. I mean, you can do it when you're driving in the car and, you're with another person. You can say, okay, tell me 3 things that start with L, whatever. Tell me, 3 colors, whatever it is. I mean, you can do this. It's easily doable, but it's just being deliberate about it. So when you're partnered with a personal brain trainer, we're working that being deliberate with that exercise. So whatever it is to boost that deliberate skill. Anybody can go do physical therapy.
Sure.
Anybody can go do it, okay? There's plenty of resources out there that they can go do PT. But if they want to get the best, they're going to go work with a personal physical therapist to get the best. Well, the same thing is with brain training, okay? You can do brain training. There's apps, there's online, there's, like I said, we're training our brain all the time. But if you want intensive and you want it to change fast, you work with a brain trainer.
Love it.
That's it.
You're like my personal brain trainer.
That's it. You got it. You know it now.
Yeah, and I love that it is personalized. It is customized to the person.
That's it.
Because there's so many cookie cutter things in our society.
100%.
There's you're just talking about apps. There's always an app or a new program or a course to get you. I know you're an author, and I used to help people write self-published books, and so I would help them write and self-publish, and I'd ghost wrote 1 or 2. Which I don't recommend. But, there's all these programs that to become an author.
Sure.
When really you just got to do it. And sometimes you need somebody that's like, no, I've read the courses and the books.
Sure.
Can you walk me through what to do? What is step 5? Because I'm up to step 5. I need to know what that is.
Right, exactly.
So I like that you're doing that. And because there's just too much. We're inundated with things that we can do for ourselves.
Sure.
And half the time, I don't know which one to pick because I'm like, I don't know. And so I think it's great that what you guys do. I like to do a healthy SBC spotlight where you say, hey, this is where we are. This is how you get in touch with us. This is our website.
Sure. Oh, well, we're Learning RX Shreveport and hashtag LRX Shreve. You can go to our website, which is learningrx.com/Shreveport. Facebook page, Learning RX Shreveport. Pretty easy. Shreveport.la@learningrx.net for an email, 318-797-8523.
Perfect. I love what y'all are doing here. I think it's amazing, and I I didn't know that you'd been here so long. So
Yeah.
congratulations
About to
on
celebrate
that.
16 years.
That is
Woo-hoo!
amazing. So when's your 16th anniversary? When's that coming up?
So the technical date, the date of my original ribbon cutting was on September the 8th.
Great.
So we actually opened in August, but September the 8th was our ribbon cutting. So we're going to celebrate this year on September the 6th, with a little bit early, just to celebrate our 16 years. But yeah, I'm excited about it.
Love it. I like to give like the last minute for you to talk about whatever you want: family, fun, work, professional. I don't care. Whatever's important to you.
Oh gosh, everything's important to me. I think one of the really unique things that I love as a person is that I was able to do this for my own children. I was able to do this for myself. I love the fact that we as a community have so many great resources here. But if I'm going to do a little shout out, which is okay,
Yes,
because you
please.
said it was.
Absolutely.
Shreveport is like the smallest market for a learning arts center in the nation, like one of the smallest markets.
Okay.
And we're the #1 center in the nation.
Wow.
And have been for many years. And so that to me is like a big shout out. It's like a big deal that this small community is so attuned to what we do that we are, top of the charts when it comes to being a great center across the nation. So yes, I'm very proud of that. That is something I worked very hard for, and I'm really excited that that we can be recognized in that way.
And as you should be. That's an amazing accomplishment. Congratulations. So awesome. Donesa, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having me. I appreciate it.